Welcome to my session, everyone. My name is Dave Kawula. It's my absolute pleasure to be speaking once again at Ignite on a topic that I love so much, which is Azure Stack HCI. Do we have Azure Stack HCI fans in the house? I can't hear your hands. So I have some giveaways for you throughout the session. I've actually got my swag distribution device here, my good friend Sami Laihau, and so he actually acts as a t-shirt cannon. So the more that you cheer, the more stuff that you get. This is how this session works. Does that sound like fun? Good. All right, let's get going because I do have a lot of stuff to go through. Couple housekeeping items for you though, all right? Session is being recorded. The PowerPoints are going to be available for you. I have a ton of links inside of the PowerPoints for you. Don't worry about taking pictures. They'll be there for you because I know you're not going to go grab this stuff right after the session. Maybe you will, but I have a ton of links in there, okay? It's going to make things easy. I put the links in there so that afterwards you could find the relevant information. I have fully updated the session for Server 2019, so you guys excited to go? Yes? Okay, then let's go. Some contact information up here for me if you want to get in touch. Many of my friends are in the audience today. You guys know that I'm extremely approachable when it comes to anything Azure Stack HCI or anything from the MVP community. Reach out if you have any questions post. I'm more than happy to help you out. The t-shirt's coming. Sammy, we got one right over here. Got another one over here. Okay, so our agenda we're going to go through. Number one, we're going to start with something new for all my friends at Microsoft Ignite. We have a new Azure Stack HCI pledge. I'm going to teach you the pledge, and I'm going to teach you why you have to say the pledge, because it is going to help you when you have production issues. We're going to go through some real-world notes that I have, a bunch of free stuff, more free stuff, and some cool tips and tricks. Sound good? You guys happy that you're getting free stuff as I'm speaking? Right? All right. The Azure Stack HCI pledge. You will repeat after me. I will join the Storage Spaces Direct / Azure Stack HCI community on Slack. Why do you want to do this? If you're not, how many of you are members of our Azure Stack HCI Slack channel, Storage Space Direct Slack channel? Oh my goodness. This step number one for you. You must join. Why? There's over 113,000 Storage Spaces Direct messages sent and over 1,000 members in the community just like you. You're deploying Microsoft's Hyper-Converged infrastructure. You have any questions about this? This is where all the experts hang out. This is where all the customers that are deploying hang out, and even the Microsoft product team. Now, the question you're asking yourself is, how do we get to said place where everybody hangs out? It's really easy. You just need to remember one URL, https://slack.storagespacesdirect.com. You must remember this. If you're going to remember any one thing from my session, I want to see all of you there as my friends. I hang out there, and a bunch of my other friends hang out there, and trust me, when you have a production issue with Azure Stack HCI, this is where you're going to go, and this is where you're going to find your answers, all right? This is where you want to be. Does that sound good? Do you guys like a community where you can get almost instant answers? Show of hands for those of you that have been in the Slack channel and had a problem. How many of you have had a near instant response from somebody that's had said issue or problem, or even be able to just chat about something to just try to work that out, right? Does it help? Does that Slack channel help? Good. Come join us. Number two, if you're new to Azure Stack HCI, you need to know where the documentation is so that you can get yourself started. So you want to go to the doc site at Microsoft and read up, because a lot of things have changed for Server 2019. As we hit shows like Microsoft Ignite, there are a lot of product announcements, a lot of new things that are coming, and this is where you're going to go to get yourself started, all right? So number one spot, I know it's kind of an RTFM, so be it, but it's still a good link to have, right? You should know where to actually get started with the getting started documentation. The next one, The Windows Server software-defined program has been redefined into a brand new name that does pretty much exactly the same thing, but now it's called Azure Stack HCI Certified. This is what Azure Stack Hyper-Converged infrastructure it is. It's pre-built, predefined solutions from your vendors that are validated by Microsoft. Why is this important for you? Because these solutions are baked out at Microsoft with the vendors, and you're almost guaranteed that you're going to get a solution that's going to work for you. Can you still build yourself? Yes, absolutely. If you want a refined solution, a predefined set of scripts that'll take and build this out for you, you work with your vendors of choice. How many vendors are there that are in there? Lots. How many of you in here are Dell shops? Hands go up. Not very many Dell shops, actually. Okay, HP? HP shops? Supermicro, OEMs? It's a pretty good split. All right. Okay, so there's your link for that. You can check them out. Your vendors do have certified solutions up there. Very important that you look at that. The next one, some of my favorite vendor certified solutions. Why do I like a couple of the vendors that I'm putting up here in my slide deck today? Because whenever you start an IT project, there's a couple things that you need to get yourself going. Number one is you're going to probably need some type of a design. You're going to need a detailed design, a technical architecture, a reference architecture, skills guides, operation guides, build scripts, things like that. Yes? Do you guys agree with that? Dell does an extremely good job with their deployment guides. If you have not been to their site to check out their reference architectures on Azure Stack HCI, you need to go there and check it out because they've got full rack diagrams, operations guides, and more. So they do a very good job. And they're great references for Azure Stack HCI. I love it because they're very transparent and very giving to us as the community, and it's a great way to see what your project's going to look like. The next one that's really good that I really like is Lenovo. Lenovo also does a very good job publishing their documentation for Azure Stack HCI. Their latest version that they have is, I think, May of 2019 or something like that. Same idea though. I've got deployment guides, wiring guides, sample switch deployments for Lenovo switches. This stuff is handy for us as we take and we work through our builds. Yes? Having as many samples as we can get. Do you guys think that this is important? Absolutely, right? I do not like to have to reinvent the wheel when it comes time to building projects like this. So Lenovo does a good job too. Wouldn't be one of my presentations if I didn't have an honorable mention from my great friends at DataON. What does DataON give you? DataON gives you white glove service for your deployments, MVP-driven deployments for a lot of the installs that are out there. But the favorite thing that DataON does is you can sign up for their newsletter, and they actually give you a VM fleet benchmark of the month for different varying customer builds that they have and different samples. Okay? That is really cool to have examples as to, let's say I want to check out an all-flash, all-NVMe HCI array, and I want to see how that's performing. I want to see what the IOPS and the throughput are looking like. I want to see some different vendor configurations, 3 nodes, 4 nodes, 2 nodes, whatever it is. It's a great spot to start with samples. If you guys go to their booth, you guys can just ask them for some of their samples that they have, and they're more than happy to share with you. So if you're looking to do a 2-node build, 3-node, 4-node, larger than that, this is a great way to see exactly how this performs and then potentially compare, especially if you're even deploying another vendor's solution. So that's pretty cool. Do you guys like that? Good. The next one is if you do want to do a DIY solution, I have another special gift for you. I'm going to give you my book on Master Storage Spaces Direct. I wrote a book on this. It still is written on Server 2016. A lot of the details in here are still fairly current. I'm working, and I'd like to announce today that hopefully by the end of the year, my updated version for Server 2019 is going to be out. So is that good? Is that something that you guys are interested in? Good. So for right now, you can have the old copy of my book for free. I'll make my other one free at some point in time. All right. How many of you want to build this in a demo lab? Do you guys want to get started in some type of a demo lab? How about some PowerShell deployment scripts to get yourselves going? I've authored a series of scripts for my books that I write called Big Demo. I give them away for free on my GitHub repositories, so you guys can go check them out there. And if you want to see how the Microsoft PFEs and Premier engineers do it, there's a set of scripts called WS Lab. I highly recommend it, solely for the fact that there's over 20 or 30 different scenarios related to Azure Stack HCI that you can go through in there. You want to check out Azure Stack HCI and storage replication. You want to check out an enterprise build of Windows Admin Center. You want to lock down Azure Stack HCI with BitLocker, and you want to see the same scripts that the Microsoft Premier field engineers use. There's your getting started guide. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that it does say WS Lab, so you think it's just for a lab. Not true. You can actually use this for production level builds as well, because you can build bare metal gear with this as well. If you love PowerShell, you love desired state configuration, that's your guy. Check it out. More free stuff. I told you I had lots. I've authored 3 books on Server 2019 this year alone. Upgrading and migrating to Server 2019, surviving a ransomware attack using Azure Site Recovery, and my latest book, Windows Defender, Advanced Threat Protection for Server 2019. If you're going to walk away with one thing, and by the way, this link here is your coupon to get all of those books for free. If you're going to walk away with one thing, one piece of knowledge from this show, is that you must use Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection on your Server 2019 and 2016 builds. This is the reason why. You're running Windows Defender by default as your antivirus on those servers. Where does all of that data go? It stays local on those hosts unless you load up Azure Security Center, which is hooked in to the Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection. This is going to take and give you AI in the event that you have attacks. It's going to give you alerting, it's going to give you notification, and it's going to give you threat analysis and investigation, those pieces that are sorely missing from your server platforms. The good news is it runs about $15 per server per month. It's published pricing right on the Microsoft site. You need to check this out. You don't want to run Defender without adding this on. This is one of Dave's must-have bolt-ons. So what did I do? I actually wrote a book for you on how to set it up. Sound good? You guys like that? Okay, good. Next, how about some more free content on Azure Stack HCI? How about 12 hours of videos from our S2D day and Azure Stack HCI day that we just ran a couple weeks ago? This is all free content. There's probably about 12 or 14 sessions from MVPs and guys in the product group. If you're looking to just refresh your knowledge and just really skill up on this quickly, this is one of the things that I highly recommend you add as one of your playlists and go through this and go through it in detail. Check out the playlists inside of there as well, because there's some really interesting chat that goes on during those sessions. We're pleased to do this as part of the community. The last one that we did already has 23,000 minutes watched since last week. So the community likes this kind of content, and we're going to continue doing it for you. All right. Networking issues are probably one of the biggest problems that we face with Azure Stack HCI deployments. Would you guys agree with this? Show of hands if those of you that have had some type of a networking issue at some point in time. Microsoft completely agrees with you, and that's why Dan Como from over at the Microsoft networking team, by the way, he's working over at the booth this week. He actually wrote this PowerShell module. It's filled with PowerShell and Pester tests inside, and there's over 300 plus networking tests that go on with this. So if you're configured anywhere out of best practices for what Microsoft is suggesting for your Azure Stack HCI builds, you need this, all right? You run it against your nodes. If you did an older configuration and everything is working, it doesn't necessarily mean that you did it wrong, but what you have to understand is that all of Microsoft's best practices are being built into that module, so as they update them, we recommend that you run it routinely against your farms. For example, the setup of cluster traffic inside of your data center bridging policies. It wasn't a normal build in Server 2016. It's now new guidance that Microsoft has. And so they're baking in that guidance right into the tool. It will also validate in a multi-node configuration that all of your nodes are configured identically. Would you guys agree with me that it's important when you set up hyper-converged infrastructure to make sure that all of your nodes are identically configured, especially with all the networking settings, short of using duplicate IP addresses? You want to make sure that everything is configured properly. That's what this tool is designed for. Now, when you run it, what you're going to notice is that you have to run it several times, because as it finds issues, it kind of goes into an error loop, and then you have to run it again. So basically, it's one of those ones where you keep running it until it's done. And I'm actually going to give you some free videos at the end on how to use this. Does that sound good? From some of the other Microsoft Premier field engineers? Sound good? Okay. Dan also did an MVP Days, which is the show that I run, that Azure Stack HCI Day. He ran a session on the best practices of networking for Azure Stack HCI. He did that session for us. That's the link for the session. I highly, highly recommend, if you're serious about networking and Azure Stack HCI, you watch his session. It is actually one of the most popular sessions that we have on our entire channel. We have about 150 videos up and about 200,000 minutes watched on our channel so far. And that's, I think, ranked #2 on our entire channel. And it's climbing fast. There's a reason for it, because we need to know this kind of knowledge. And so Dan is a really good speaker, and he did a good job on it. Okay? The next one. Does anybody see anything wrong with this VM fleet picture? So you guys see something? How's your write latency looking at 62 milliseconds? Is that the kind of number that you're looking for when you're testing your storage or your SAN? Is that going to pass any tests that you're going to have for any modern workload? That was actually pulled off of an all-flash NVMe cluster that I was working on in January. It was all flash. NVMe, that thing should have been smoking. The tests were terrible. And as it turns out, there was actually some known issues with VM Fleet and Server 2019 that, after we found that bug, were actually added back into the production documentation. So if you go to the link on docs.microsoft for VM Fleet, there's a big disclaimer in there now. It says that if you're running the CSV cache, you're almost like doubling up on the cache, and all the numbers are going to be skewed. So the solution, to make a long story short, when you're running Server 2019 and you're going to stress test your Azure Stack HCI clusters, turn off the built-in CSV caching, which is now turned on, and then run your tests. You can turn it back on for production. It's just you're not going to get good test sets with the CSV cache on. That's the workaround. That's the official answer back from the guys at Microsoft, and even the ones that have, we are actually working with the guys that wrote disk speed for that solution. The next one that we have relates to patching your clusters. I know if you've seen me on the Slack channel, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. I've kind of changed lately to, yeah, you need to patch. There's just certain things that come out where you need to stay current on your patches and your cumulative updates. We found another issue in January with Server 2019, and it was in regards to Windows Admin Center. And what was happening was the SDDC health resources, there's the health resource inside of your failover cluster. Turns out that Windows Admin Center queries that with an awful lot of WMI queries, and can actually really overload your cluster and start causing your VMs to crash. So if you took an ISO build of Server 2019 and you haven't patched it, you're going to have this issue. It was fixed somewhere in the May timeframe, but make sure that you patch. We did see that. And hopefully you guys are staying current with your patches, so you haven't seen this. Otherwise, you're probably going to be wondering why all your VMs are dying the moment that you turn on Windows Admin Center, which is our favorite tool from this show, and nobody likes me telling them to actually turn off Windows Admin Center. So patch your servers. And the last one that I've got for you is as-built documentation. How many of you want to document your Azure Stack HCI builds? Do you guys need some as-built documentation? A consultant came in and built this, and the project team did something, and they threw the ball over the fence, and the operations team caught it. Where's my documentation? They hand you 2 pages. What is this? No IPs, no configs, nothing. Comprehensive documentation from a good MVP friend of mine, Romain Seri. It's called Audit S2D. You need this. And so you just run this against one of your cluster nodes, and you'll get a beautiful, nice little HTML printout of your as-built cluster configurations. Sound good so far? You guys liking these tips so far? All right. I know it's fast. It has to be. 20 minutes to try to stuff this in. Don't worry, it's recorded, so you can watch it. So you can watch it 6 or 7 more times to catch everything. The next one, and my last tip that I've got for you is switch configurations. How many of you would like sample switch configurations and sample monitoring guides for almost every set of switches that are out there? I know the screenshot's not showing up all that well, so I'll just kind of explain it to you. These are monitoring scripts for Cisco switches, Lenovo switches, Mellanox switches, almost every switch that you have. The site is https://s2d.dk. What a weird name for a site, and where did we find that? When you go to the site, it looks very basic, but the content on it is amazing. It's actually a Microsoft Premier field engineer that runs it, and he's part of the networking guys that work with Azure Stack HCI. So they were seeing all these issues out in the field, so they wanted to start publishing this. So this, for our networking friends that are listening right now, this is your friend. The other thing is, on his site, on his blog, he's got a how to use validate DCB. So remember the networking tool that we talked about earlier that Dan Como from the networking team at Microsoft wrote? He's got some step-by-step guidance in here on how to set it up and how to use it, right? So with that, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed my session. Do remember, fill out the evals. That's how speakers like me come back to Microsoft Ignite. I really do appreciate all of the comments that you have when you fill those out. And the last one is my other sessions that are here this week are right here. I have one more session on Friday. I think it's at around 9 or 10 o'clock. It's going to be in exactly the same theater. And we're going to talk a little bit about deduplication on Azure Stack HCI. And with that, my friends, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of Microsoft Ignite.